Practice and NJoy is a bunch of turntables and that kind of thing. Now there's plenty of that inside. Let's talk, let's network, and let's share some information. So we've got some people who want to get up and talk about what they do. And Stefan is going to be first.
Wow, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
you're going to be first. Stefan's going to come up and tell us about DJing in Canada. Great White North. Give it up for our friend Stefan.
So since you were booing, je vais parler en français pour toute la soirée.
Je ne parle français.
Oui,
Je ne parle français.
Tu comprends qu'est-ce que je dis?
Je t'aime.
No, no, don't worry.
I take credit, sorry.
I'll talk to you. Yeah, I'll give credit to Matt for that one. So, can you hear me? No.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
It'll be all right. There's like only 20 of us.
Yeah, you don't even need the mics.
They knew you were first.
I can talk loud, so I'll just talk loud. So anyway, so my name's Stefan Jazz. I'm from Montreal. And yeah, I've been DJing for about 15 years now. And the YouTube thing, been involved for the last couple of years, gig logs and all that kind of stuff, and meeting all you guys. So, I mean, everyone always asks, so what's the big difference between weddings in Canada and the States? And, you know, I can even divide that more to the difference between weddings between the way I do them and the way Jasper does them in Toronto. I think it's, and the way Candace and Brenton do them out west, I think it's different in Montreal than even those cities. One of the really cool things about DJing in Montreal, weddings especially, is Montreal is a very multicultural city. There are tons of ethnicities, a whole bunch of backgrounds, and no wedding is ever the same. You have German, English, Italian, Greek wedding. You have a French, Greek. You have Indian, Arabic. You have Arabic and Canadian. You have a U.S. Canadian. Like there's every combination for almost every wedding is never the same.
Australians?
Yeah, there's some. I did an Australian wedding. It was this summer. They flew like 24 hours to get here, and they moved to Australia. The bride is from here. The husband was from there, and absolutely. So I just did one recently. So for each wedding, I get to also learn new cultural music because, okay, I don't have every cultural music in the world, but I have some that I've accumulated. But for each wedding, you know, I'll ask them, okay, so it's, I did an African wedding. I didn't have any African music. So I said, you know, so give me your African music. Tell me, is it fast, is it dinner, is it dancey, and I'll incorporate it for you, you know, and I do. So I get to amass a little bit of different cultural music that I would have never heard before, and learn a little bit about that kind of music. So that's a huge part of the weddings in Montreal, especially. You have to incorporate the cultural music for that couple throughout your evening. Arabic is pretty big, Indian is pretty big, of course Italian and Greek weddings are pretty big in Montreal. Those are kind of like the major ones. The other huge difference that I think we can tell from like gig logs from you guys in the US is our weddings don't end at like 11 or 12. Our weddings go much, much later. Like you guys are packing up and in the car by like midnight, and we're just like getting started by midnight sometimes on the dance floor. We'll typically end, most weddings will end around 1:30, 2 o'clock. If it's a really banging wedding, it'll go till 3. 3 is pretty much the max that most halls will kick you out. So that's a huge difference right there. Like we do the same thing, the cocktail, the dinner, the speeches, the dances, all that stuff. Dancing starts around 10 or so, depending on when they get through all the formalities.
What's your start time?
Start time is usually around 5 or 6. Wow. Yeah, is that late or early?
Well, this is a long gig.
You're doing 5 hours.
But see, the thing I don't get is, I mean, we're still going to start dancing at 10 or whatever, but I'm not going to come in and sit up at 9, right? So you got to get ready,
sure,
you know. So, well, they're going to use me for the microphone and all that stuff. But so yeah, it does make for a very long day. It's a very long day and you start at 5, I'm there at 2 or 3, depending on the setup, right? And yeah, you end up getting home at 3 or 4 sometimes. So you need to rest properly before and, you know, make sure you have the energy for that evening. But yeah, that's the other huge difference is that. In Montreal, everyone always says, oh, you know, do you speak French and all that stuff. I mean, I'm more English, as you can tell. I do speak French, but my clientele, can tell that. So my clientele tend to be more of the English nature. I do French weddings. I can do a whole wedding in French. I mean, how much speaking do we really do, right? I mean, it's a couple of announcements and a couple little crowd, little things. So I'll do that in French. That's not a problem. So I do, but it's not like it's French all the time. It's not. That's like a generality. I don't know what else. I mean, those are the two big differences. I think.
Stag and those. Do you do those?
No, that we don't do. And last year when Candace and Breton were telling me about those, I had never heard of them before. We don't do those. So a stag and doe is like a
Jack and Jill.
Like in Jack, we don't do those either.
No?
But we have engagement parties, which is the party about a year before the wedding. So I do a few of those. They're few and far between, I guess for budgetary reasons.
It's not something we do down here in the States.
See, so the engagement party or the stag and doe, they'll have it, a year or before or 6 months before. But more so in Montreal, they're becoming more like they'll do it at home with all their family and relatives or whatever in the backyard or whatnot. But it won't be like a big production like the wedding would be. I have done a few where they've made it a big production and they've rented the hall and they do the whole thing, just like a wedding, just minus all the formalities. But hardly ever. Yeah.
Steph, what's your biggest upsell at the moment?
Right now, the biggest upsell will be the uplighting. That's starting to catch on a bit more. The trend I've noticed in Montreal over the past like 2 years is no one cares about lighting anymore. The lighting is not the selling point. They really don't care about that. And from coming last year, I started to realize that, yeah, that's, starting to talk to people and different seminars, more and more lighting. I mean, how much lighting do you need? You're just wasting your time setting it all up and it's going to look like too much stuff. It's a wedding we're talking about, right? So keep it simple, try to find what's good. But the big difference now is people want the simple kind of setup, but the uplighting is the selling point now. It's starting to become, some people ask for it, some people just need a little bit of incentive and look at this and then they'll actually take it. But it's still on the verge of catching on. The photo booth thing is not really big in Montreal. The video thing is starting to catch on as well. I don't do the video yet, but it's not like, no one has ever asked me for it actually. It's just, some people do it, it's starting to catch on slowly, but it's not like a huge thing at the moment. Any other questions or any other, I don't know, that's pretty much what I can think of off the top of my head.
What sort of rates do you get for such a long wedding? So what's the average rate for such a long wedding?
The rates in Montreal, and I mean every market is different obviously, but for weddings like that, the typical price range for like the pro guys will be anywhere from starting $700 to like $2,000 depending on what you're getting. Like that's, the real ballpark is probably from $700 to $1,500 Canadian US. Right now it's about the same.
So that's for around sort of 8 hours.
Yeah, so you can average $1,000. That's a really simple number. Some will go a lot less, and of course you have.
That's $1,000 for a 12-hour day.
Yeah, from 5. Well, from 5 or 6. That's it. But that's what the market's paying, right? And it's only since last year that I've started saying, because clients are like, oh, well, that's too much. We can find someone for $400. Like the same thing, and I started saying, well, I'm sorry. Then go with them for these reasons. You're right. It's a long day, and if you're going to want quality service, you're going to have to pay for it, and that is a huge average. What I just told you. So we're going to go, and within that average, I try to be a little bit higher than that, but that's the average. So you can't double that because no one's going to hire you, but I'm not going to charge half for that. So, but yeah, that's kind of the rate. Simon, or no, John. John, you didn't ask me a question yet.
Oh, I forgot, sorry. Oh, you made me wait that long ago.
Then Simon. Okay.
Steph.
More.
So do you charge extra for your uplighting or?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Right.
Everything's extra, like ceremony will be extra. So if they want to do ceremony music before or ceremony microphone before or the cocktails outside after the ceremony, that will be an extra. Uplighting is definitely an extra. I charge per fixture, which they like because okay, 10 fixtures, or if you don't have a big budget, well, we can maybe do 8, and we'll save you a little bit of money. Or maybe just for your head table, so you only need like 4. And so it's a good way to get them to sale and not charge them an arm and a leg. You're charging them per fixture, and they seem to like that. But definitely, that's all extra. Big, huge light show, that's extra. because that's going to take me 2 hours to set that up. So I'm going to charge you a lot more for that. John.
I remember what I was going to say now.
Right.
I'm interested in the order of the formalities, because I've noticed here in America they do the bouquet toss and that really early in the night. Like back home in Australia, it's like one of the last things we do. So
we do
a
it.
traditional order. Where do they do all that sort of stuff?
Well, okay, I'll answer the bouquet thing for you. We do it like midway. Like, well, if you do it right away, when you start dancing, you're going to lose everyone, because then that's the last formality, right? So if you do that, then it's like, okay, what are we going to hang around for?
The same thing in the States, when they can stick around for.
You try to make them stick around.
The older folks.
Yeah, because
where they're exhausted, but long enough so they can have a good time. Maybe an hour.
Yeah, like dance for an hour.
Yeah.
And then by that time you do the cake or whatever, maybe do the bouquet or you do the bouquet when it's starting to die out for some reason. Do the bouquet, and then that gets them back on the dance floor, and then you start again. But the formalities, and I think it's similar to the way you guys do it in the States. So you have your cocktails and your dinner. Throughout the dinner, try to do all those speeches and everything. So you have the toast by the best man first before you start eating. You have the speech from the father of the bride, the speech from the father of the groom. Then you may have a speech from the maid of honor. And then sometimes the bride and the groom themselves will have their speech at some point throughout the evening. You have a couple of courses in between there. You'll do the mother-son dance, the father-daughter dance. A big trend too that's been a lot of couples have been being very shy lately of having their dance and being in the spotlight, just him and his mother or her and her father. So the cool thing that I've been suggesting is, well, let's do it all four of you together. You make it like a parent and child dance, and they really like that, so it makes their parents happy, and they still get to have that moment, and the spotlight is not on any one of them, so it's a lot less nervous for them. So we'll do that, and then we'll do the first dance before we start opening the dance floor. The bouquet is a bit later for the reasons I said before. So that's pretty much the kind of standard way.
How do you put that into such a short time? Because when I'm thinking of the Germans, our weddings will go until the next day, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, I remember.
She said, just to me, come there, eat there, drink there, be happy. That's it.
Wow.
And then we start our weddings at 6 o'clock. But I think 3 o'clock is the normal time. It could be 6 o'clock with a good time.
Wow. I mean, from what I just said, I'm already getting tired, but it's long. Like to us, that's already long. The way I get around it is I recommend to the couple all the time, all those speeches and dances, we do them throughout the dinner. So we do them while people are eating. They're eating anyway, they're not doing anything, so they might as well listen to you say your speech that no one wants to hear anyway.
Amen.
Exactly. Why? So some weddings you go to, they eat, then they do speech for an hour, and then you're dying. And then you try to dance, yeah, right, you know what I mean? So a lot of the weddings, you incorporate it throughout your eating, and you're doing all these things. And I mean, the speeches are like 5-10 minutes, so it's not, and a song is 5 minutes for the dances. So it does not feel like you're rushing. It doesn't feel like you're rushing throughout the night. A lot of the times there's still too much open space and nothing really happening. And depending on the couple, we'll sometimes dance during the dinner as well. So that's
very different. In Germany, no one informs you that they will have a speech. Grandmother Betty will arrive at 1 o'clock when the dance floor is totally full. Please turn on the lights! I can't breathe you now! And then they stand there for maybe 20 minutes, just get angry!
All right, Simon, last question, Simon.
So just a quick one, and it's sort of the wedding subject. How has YouTube changed? Because obviously a lot of us in here met on YouTube. How's that changed or sort of benefited your business?
Hugely. It has hugely impacted me, actually. The huge part is the learning from other people, getting all the ideas, and upping my game big time. Because just seeing, wow, that's so simple, what a great idea, like why am I not doing that? So that's helped. The other thing is asking for advice and getting an answer from all your friends that you've met, and so you get that. The other thing that actually has happened, I've had a few brides find me, hey, I found you on YouTube, are you free for this date? And by that time they're already sold on you because they just watched you do your whole wedding and they loved it, so they called you. So not all the time, but it has happened, I think, like twice in the last year. They actually found me that way. But the benefit is just by getting to see new ideas and upping your game and having the feedback from guys. So it's definitely worth it to get involved.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.